Lai Ronan is recording a message for anyone who finds her video recorder and explains that she violated a taboo 6 years ago, and ever since then, she and her daughter, Dodo, have been suffering horrific paranormal activities. Those who came into contact with them have also fallen prey to this plague. Ronan asks the viewer to help her in eradicating the misfortunes that have messed up her and her daughter's life. She asks everyone to memorize a symbol and an incantation that would be used in the coming future. Some time ago, Ronan begins video recording and is awaiting the arrival of her daughter, who has been living in a foster care home. Ming, who is the manager of the foster care home, meets Ronan and introduces her to Dodo. Ronan plans on recording their everyday lives so that Dodo can view it as a life diary in the future. Ming acknowledges Dodo as her favorite child in the foster care home, as Dodo has always thought of Ming as her father. An old 6 years footage shows Ronan in a mental institution where she confesses that she crossed a tunnel that was strongly prohibited to enter. Dodo was born after this incident, and Ronan gave her to the foster care home so that she can focus on her mental health. Ronan explains to the doctor that if you watch the footage she recorded and the more you learn about the deity she learned about all those years ago, the more the chances of you encountering misfortunes. Ronan brings Dodo home and both of them are getting along nicely. As she is recording her experience of bringing Dodo home, the power goes out and Ronan starts to hear something happen in her home. She goes to look around and finds her kitchen all disheveled. She notices that her apartment's door is open, and before anything could happen, she hears a loud scream from inside the elevator. Ronan rushes to Dodo's bedroom, only to encounter more unusual activities taking place. She doesn't find Dodo in her bed, and she is even more terrified to see Dodo crawl to the outside from under her bed. Dodo behaves strangely, and after coming back to her bedroom, she terrifies her mother by yelling loudly as possible. 6 years earlier, Ronan is on a journey to her friends, Dom and Yuan's village that is occupied by the Cheng clan. All of them are looking to create a video for their YouTube channel that would expose the reality of the tunnel that is prohibited from entering. Dom and Yuan meet their granduncle, and he reminds both of them about their annual ritual that is going to take place that night. Their granduncle tells Ronan to leave as it's a private family ritual, but an old woman, who was observing Ronan all this time, lets her stay after reading her hand. While taking a tour of the entire house, Ronan finds a young girl on whom runes are being written. In the present day, while at work, Ronan finds a lot of worms everywhere near her. She gets a call from her school and is informed about Dodo's erratic behavior. One night, Dodo yells for her mother and asks her to pull something she has been seeing down from the roof. Ronan is confused as there's nothing present on the roof, and Dodo is referring to the thing as Batty. Ronan is frightened but plays along with her daughter's desire of pulling that thing down. As Ronan throws Batty out, Dodo tells her that it is still there. The principal of the school informs Ronan that Dodo's behavior is getting worse. When Dodo is playing with her teacher in her classroom, the teacher records footage of a horrific thing grabbing Dodo. In the past, Ronan and her friends are asked to submit their names to the deity the clan worships, Mother Buddha. After that, all of them are told by the old woman that they must return after every 10 years to worship the deity. Much to her surprise, the woman also tells Ronan about submitting the name of her daughter when she's born. This makes Ronan uncomfortable, as she hadn't told anyone about her pregnancy. As all three of them find the people performing the ritual, the little girl finds them and takes Ronan to a place filled up with Buddha statues. After noticing one of the little girl's ears are missing, she explains to Ronan that she was chosen by the gods and the Mother Buddha took her flesh in order to bless everyone else. Just as she says this, all of the heads of Buddha statues turn towards Ronan. In the present day, Dodo goes to the roof of the apartment on the instructions of something she's hearing. She jumps off the railing but surprisingly comes back on the roof. She goes to a room that has Buddha statues as well, and watches the entire footage that was recorded 6 years ago. She yells out the incantation, and Ronan comes in a hurry to get her out. Dodo passes out and Ronan takes her to the hospital as soon as possible. Ming tells Ronan that Dodo might be suffering from brain paralysis. He hands out a piece of paper that has Dodo's name written on it and tells Ronan that it was given by one of her workers for Dodo. Realizing that it is the same piece of paper that was used to submit Ronan and her friend's name, she gets even more scared of what's about to happen next. In another flashback of the past, Ronan and her friends are told to leave immediately, but the boys are still stubborn about going into the tunnel. As they move out, all of them witness the people performing their unusual ritual. As Dodo's condition deteriorates, Child Services have decided to revoke Dodo's custody rights from Ronan. Ming asks Dodo if she loves her mother or not, to which she responds that she does. Ronan decides to leave with Dodo and Ming so that Child Services don't get to her. Another footage from the past shows that the clan members have left the little girl in front of the tunnel as a sacrificial offering. The boys decide to enter the tunnel once and for all. After opening it up, they hear horrific screams from inside, but they still enter it. After some time, Yuan comes back possessed and there's no sight of Dom. Yuan has recorded everything but the video file has become damaged. Everything turns into mayhem as the clan sacrifices another man after setting him on fire. The entire situation disturbs Ronan and watches Yuan jumping off the roof to his demise. Ming and Ronan are traveling to a temple where they plan on showing Dodo's condition to a priest. While they are on their way, Ronan realizes that they have continuously been driving on the same road as if they are on a loop. The car breaks down and something starts to hit the car from the top as loudly as possible. Ronan begins to recite the incantation and Ming does the same. After they come out of this horrific situation, they meet the priest and his wife. They agree to perform an exorcism on Dodo. In order for it to work, the priest orders Ronan to not feed Dodo for the next 7 days. As she can't eat for some days, Dodo's health worsens. Ronan tries to take her to the doctors, but they can't treat Dodo on an empty stomach. Ronan carries out all of the treatment at her home, knowing what her daughter has been through all of this time, and when runes begin to appear on her body, a sympathetic Ronan buys and feeds Dodo pineapple. Meanwhile, Ming begins his research on what the Chen clan has been doing for years. He also sends the damaged footage of the tunnel to be repaired. He travels to Yunnan to gather more information and find the meaning behind the runes. In the end, Ming confesses in his recorded video that he was the one that notified the child services in order to take Dodo back, and he won't be sending the repaired footage to Ronan so that she and Dodo can remain safe. Ming begins to experience abnormal activities, but they don't last much as he becomes possessed and begins to hit his head on the table countless times until he passes on. The repaired footage was sent to Ronan after he was possessed. Dodo is now getting even more critical with more markings and blood spots appearing on her body. Ronan knows that she made a mistake of feeding Dodo. She tries to make Dodo throw up the pineapple. Ronan hurries to the temple and finds the priest finished. Begins to perform a severely abnormal activity with her head, and a horrifying event ensues. Before she could rest forever, the wife of the priest latches onto Ronan. Dodo is missing, and Ronan finds her levitating on top of the ceiling. Dodo falls crashing down on the floor. Ronan returns home and begins recording about the incident that occurred after she and her friends violated the taboo all those years ago. She goes on to say that whoever finds this video should memorize the symbol and learn the incantation. She says that the incantation was used by the clan followers in order to receive blessings from the deity they worship, Mother Buddha. Later on, they also discover the lifeless body of the little girl that was supposed to be sacrificed near a hospital. Ronan musters up the courage and finally plays the footage of the tunnel for herself and the viewers. As Dom and Yuan entered the tunnel, they stumbled across various Buddha statues along with mirrors that were put out all over the place. As they continued to go further, both of them were getting terrified just by the thought of what could happen next. They found broken tooths, as it was observed in the footage that the ones who were possessed had their teeth broken. As they reached the end, they came across a big Buddha statue that had its face covered. The instructions on top of it clearly stated to not uncover its face. Yuan repeatedly tells Dom to not uncover it, but Dom proceeds with it. Dom begins to yell out loudly and something tries to get a hold of his body. After both of them are put down by the unnatural force, Yuan recovers and begins searching for Dom. Yuan shows himself and begins smashing his face against the wall. The footage ends with Yuan running for his life. Ronan is now also cursed and has runes all over her body. She heads to the tunnel one last time and apologizes to Dodo for the things she had to suffer because of her. She rearranges everything in order and heads towards the biggest Buddha statue. Ronan has gathered the translation of the incantation from Yunnan and shows it before she could proceed with anything. The monks, who were given the task of translating it, say that incantation is not a blessing, instead, it is a curse of sharing. After reciting it, the person who has been cursed shares it with strangers. The purpose of the incantation is to lessen the burden on the ones that have been cursed, because if more people would bear the curse, the more diluted it would become. Mother Buddha's face is the heart of the curse, which is why her face was covered in the first place. Ronan apologizes to everyone who would find her footage and says that this was the last way she could have saved Dodo. Ronan breaks down crying and wishes Dodo was never her daughter, as she has been a terrible mother. She hopes Dodo will recover and remain happy for the rest of her life. Ronan takes the cover off of Mother Buddha's face and is possessed instantly. She begins smashing her face on the ground until she finally rests in peace. Dodo is seen as fully recovered and happy.